Entrepreneur life requires risk, persistence, and a slightly unreasonable belief that this thing you're building is going to work.
And let's not forget copious amounts of caffeine.
Yes, that too.
Hey guys, I'm Allison, the Caffeinated Entrepreneur, an AI-powered business strategist and systems builder with an energy level that should probably come with a warning label.
And I'm Bernie, the man behind the mustache. I'm a virtual events producer who makes sure the tech works, the delivery is clean, and nobody panics, including Allison.
Each week, we are picking up the conversation where my weekly newsletter leaves off. No teaching, no pretending we have it all figured out.
Just two entrepreneurs talking honestly about the highs and lows of growing our own businesses.
And why some ideas are worth sipping on a little bit longer. Welcome to the Caffeinated Entrepreneur. Let's go behind the brew. Hey guys, grab your favorite caffeinated beverage and join us for today's episode where we're going behind the brew of issue number 72. Your reputation sells you better than you ever will. Hello, Senor Bernie. How are you today,
Hello,
my
Allison.
friend?
I'm doing well. I mean, I'm a little tired today, as usual, but not for the usual reasons. I actually had two private client events today, so I've been on all day already today, and it was
And I'm just going to make you keep going because I'm a mean co-host who will not give you time off.
no rest for the weary. Where's the wick?
None. You should all know that Bernie sent me a LinkedIn message before recording this like an hour ago. And he was like, there's a distinct difference between being exhausted and being burnt out. And I was like, I know, isn't it? And it sucks to be you because either way, you're going to be recording today. Because that's how we roll, friends. We got a podcast we got to get out.
It was funny. I wasn't even actually trying to get out. I was just like, this is a topic we should talk about. But then she was like, this is really real for you today, isn't it? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, kind of is, kind of is. And it is. I am sure it'll be a future topic down the road.
Yes.
But not today, my friends, because today we are talking about reputation. And it's just so funny how things work out, right? Because I was telling Bernie in pre-show that we were getting ready. I had in my mind that I was going to be writing this newsletter because of a client experience that I recently had and all these good things. And then I opened my email and sure enough, there is somebody who replied to an email that I sent out and was like, number one, you were in my head. You got to love it when someone's like, I read that and it was like you were reading my mind. And I was like, that's good marketing, friends. That's good messaging. You're dialed in. But number two, the response back was, I know we've never met, but Bernie and another friend of ours, Rob, talk about you all the time and keep, like they say, nothing but wonderful things. I need to meet you. And I was like, yes, you do. Let's book a coffee chat. And it was like my reputation preceded me with this woman. I don't know her from Adam. I didn't even know she was on my list. I don't know how she knows me. But this comes after 2 days ago. I sent a cold LinkedIn request or connection request to somebody whose response was, I accepted because I saw that you know Bernie. And so Bernie's reputation got me a connection. So it's like the reputation thing is just full circle over and over again. So we're talking about it today.
So I posed this earlier in pre-show. What is the difference between perspective of a person or individual and their reputation?
Yeah. So I think reputation is something that we either intentionally or unintentionally cultivate. And it's what people think and say about us when we're not in the room, where someone's perspective of me is simply how they feel about me when they interact with me, right? My reputation is that girl is high energy. You may love it, you may hate it, but my reputation is high energy. Same with the not bossy, just aggressively helpful, right? This is a reputation that I have intentionally put forward myself, and it has caught on, and people take it and they say it all the time. Where someone's opinion of me for being high energy and aggressively helpful, well, that's totally different. They can like it, they can not. That's their perspective.
Right. Well, you make a good distinction. I think I asked the question because I genuinely wanted to know what your perspective of it was, what the delineation was. Because I agree, it is about reputation is about what people are saying when you're not in the room, right? How they talk about you. clearly this individual that both Rob and I have talked about you in front of, um, it had an impact, right? Because we spoke highly of you, of your intelligence, of the way that you run your program, of how you communicate. And then I would imagine that she has been kind of in your universe out there already, right? But that was an opportunity for her, right? The letter, for her to engage with you. But
Yeah.
all that
Yeah. Yeah.
reputation, if that letter came without that reputation, right? The conversations having had beforehand, it may not have landed the same.
Yeah. And even if she was like, oh, she's inside my head, she might not have been compelled to be like, hey, can we get on a call? So here's the deal. I'm going to now throw a question back on you, Bernie. When have you personally experienced someone else's reputation before you ever worked with them or even met them and already went in with, maybe preconceived notions, good or bad?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is a great opportunity to mention our friend Donnie. So I know going into any experience with him that we're going to talk about introductions and referrals. He's going to curse it and drop an F bomb at least 12 times in 6 minutes. And he's probably going to try and give you some advice on whatever business problem that you're having. So
Hmm.
before I ever even joined Success Champions Networking, I knew what to expect from Donnie.
Hmm. Yeah. And I distinctly remember before meeting with him being prepped with that information
Yes.
so that I would be prepared as someone who does not curse and who's not, they were like, that's just, so it's one of those, I experienced that reputation before I ever actually spoke with him as
Sure.
well. So I think that's kind of funny. All right. So then let's go further than this. Have you ever hired or referred or trusted someone because of what someone else said about them? So you haven't met them personally, but because the reputation superseded them, you were like, yeah, that's the person you need.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely social proof has been a big part of why I've worked with someone. In fact, I collaborated with someone that you used to work with for some of your LinkedIn work. I don't know if we can say, I think,
Oh, that's
right?
right. Hmm.
So specifically based on the fact that you had success with her, you were working with her, that was the reason that I met
Hmm.
with her, and we did a collaboration event together.
I have found that people that I really, really believe have a wonderful reputation, I absolutely sing their praises to an extent that other people are like, why wouldn't I work with them or hire them or refer them? And that is also attached to my reputation because my whole thing, and I, have had this happen where if somebody I refer doesn't hold up what I would consider their end of the bargain, and the person that ended up hiring them because of me and my word is unhappy, you can bet I'm coming back and been like, that is my reputation on the line.
Acceptable.
For your sake, you best fix it. Like, we're going to have some throwdown. And, I say it professionally,
Of
friends. I don't
course.
go that like gangsta, but the message comes across, right? But, and I will say that because those people truly do have great reputations in general, they're like, no problem. We will fix it. We will do whatever we have to do. We will bend over backwards and tie ourselves into a knot and untie ourselves again in order to make sure that both our reputation and your reputation are upheld. And so I think that it's really important to consider that when you refer somebody, your reputation is on the line. And if you don't think of it that way, you should not be referring anybody to
That's
anybody.
right. And for a rude awakening there for sure. Unfortunately, other people's reputation can reflect on you, right, through those
Yeah.
experiences. And I think that that's a really important piece to hammer home is that if you are going to refer or you are going to be referred, you need to think about what that experience is going to do to the person that referred you. I think that oftentimes your reputation, though, is going to be built in those difficult and trying times, though, as well. Like, it's easy to
Hmm.
provide great service when everything's going great. Like,
Hmm.
when things hit the fan and you are still able to handle it with grace, um, get them the result that
Hmm.
they're looking for as your client or whatever the relationship is, that's when the
Yep.
trust is deepened. That's when the reputation gets even bigger and better, right? That's when
Yeah.
you are going to go and talk about this person you were just referencing even greater now because yes, I referred them. recognized there's a problem. He fixed the problem, went above and beyond.
Yes.
And now
Yes.
that experience trumps everything else that happened. You are going to now talk about that with everyone.
Yes. Well, and I actually brought this up in the newsletter. It's part of the weekly challenge is asking people how you can improve
Mhm.
because we don't want that part. Like we just want the part where we're like, "Oh my gosh, your reputation is amazing. I love you." No, tell me where my not bossy, just aggressively helpful stuff bothers you, right? Tell me when my high energy bothers you. I have had more than one person straight up tell me, you go too fast. You talk too fast. And I'm like, I do. I understand that. And it becomes one of those moments where it's like, do I intentionally try and slow down to work with the person? Or do we just establish the fact that I'm not a good fit for them? Right. And the reputation stays. Allison goes fast. Either hang on or don't work with her.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's one of those like unintentional things that I've built. You know, like I've intentionally built the not bossy, just aggressively helpful. I very unintentionally built the high energy and talks really fast. And there are people that absolutely don't like it. And I think that they very intentionally don't recommend me to people. And I'm like, well, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah,
Right. Like,
absolutely true. I mean, it is a good thing because at the end of the day, even if they do refer you, if they are referring you to people who are similar to them and
mm,
prefer to consume information in the same way, they are also not going to have a great experience. So in this case,
right.
that reputation and the way that you operate, it is meant to either attract the right people or repel the wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever had anything about your reputation? And I can't imagine that you have, where you've been like, ick, I didn't realize I was coming across that way. I'm going to fix that.
Anything that I can think of or anyone has shared with me that was a perspective that was like, wow, I need to change that immediately. Um, no, no, nothing I can think of.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on like a truly
Yeah.
negative comment other than the whole like you just talk too fast, you go too fast. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm willing to lose you on that one.
Right.
Um, but a few episodes back, I talked about my fish analogy of business owners, right? And there was guppies and there's salmon, but then the tier I want to talk about is the next tier up where you have dolphins, the successful business owner we all want to be around because they're just fun to watch and they're encouraging and yay. The piranha, who is scary and like out for themselves and just devours everyone and anyone in their path. And then the tuna. The tuna who is expensive because they're successful and they have figured it out. However, they just smell bad and you don't know why necessarily. You can't put your finger on it, but you're like, ick. I don't want to be around you and I can't exactly decide why. There's just this feeling. And it's like, how do you fix that reputation of being ick? And maybe this is touching on the perspective thing that you mentioned early.
Yeah.
Like my perspective of that person is they give me ick, where maybe for someone else's they don't.
Right. Well, let me back up for a second. Did you have a bad experience with tuna at some point? Like, I really want a tuna fish sandwich right now, and
No, I listen, I love to eat tuna.
okay.
I really do. But if I could just be honest, back in the day when I was trying to lose weight after baby number 5, tuna was one of the things that I ate a lot of because it was high protein, low carbs. And I had a lot of tuna melts, friend. And I think I'm just over like just the opening the can and be like, oh,
Yeah,
here
I'm a
we go
huge fan
again.
of raw, like sushi tuna. Like that is great. Canned
Oh yeah,
tuna,
no, I
like
love tuna.
I don't mind a sandwich every now and again, but that's not something I'm doing. That wasn't the point of all
Yeah.
that. Sorry, I digress. Um, yeah, I mean, what you're talking about, though, I think is the ick factor is more in the personal experience that you have with
Yeah.
someone, right? The vibe that they get. As an example, when I approach networking, I will often tell people the very first time that we meet, this is a sniff test. Like if we were two dogs meeting in the park, this is a sniff test. Like, are you cool? Are you someone that I want to throw the ball
What
around
an
with?
image I don't
Like,
want,
it is
Bernie.
it is probably a
Stop it.
terrible analogy, but people get it immediately, and they're like, okay, cool. Yeah, like I get that. And at the end of the call, like I have literally said, okay, cool. Like this was a cool sniff test. I want to hang out again. You, yeah, cool. All right, let's schedule some more time.
Oh my word. Same brew, different cup, y'all. That's disgusting. But makes sense. It totally makes sense. But yeah, I guess yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking of someone very specific who I honestly I met networking years ago and haven't probably talked to in a year. But there was just something about that person that every time I saw them at a networking event, I was like, "Oh, I hope I don't end up in a breakout room with that person. Oh, I really hope." You know what I mean? It's like and I had no concrete reason why. That person had never wronged me in any way. They had never, I don't know. I don't know what it is. So maybe that's one of those ones we just don't really have an answer for.
So
And we
I
just
guess
keep working
without
through
giving
it.
too much away, like does this person have a good reputation generally, as far as you know, outside of perhaps your experience with them?
That particular person, I actually know someone who I adore who is working with that person currently and loves that person and thinks that person's phenomenal. And I'm like, keep your mouth shut, Allison, because you don't need to put rain on anyone's parade because you got no concrete evidence that this person isn't amazing other than your own ick,
Mhm.
right? And so it's very much my perception of this person, where obviously this other person who I adore also adores them. So,
Again, and that's why I wanted to kind of clarify it earlier, right? Like the person can have a great reputation, they could have a bad reputation, right? But they also may not have a great, personal appeal to different types of
yeah.
individuals, right? And that's again, that's
Well,
perspective and opinion and not necessarily reputation.
and I think you bring up another good point. So here's the question about the reputation. What is it that truly affects the reputation the most? Because in the newsletter, I bring up three things. I talk about how your character affects your reputation,
Mhm.
how the client experience affects the reputation, and then your consistency in providing said experience creates that reputation, right? And so, of those three, which one do you think weighs the heaviest in building a reputation that precedes you?
What do I think is weighted the heaviest or most builds reputation?
Yes.
Um,
Which one is the one that is creating that reputation that is there before you even walk in the room?
um, Quite honestly, I don't know that it's necessarily the deliverable. I think people, hire you because you are trying to get a result, but it is how you deliver that result and the
Yeah.
experience that you provide to them while doing it, right? Like, um, I'll use your example, right? The Camry will get me from point A to point B, but it may be a bumpy ride. Like I don't, and that's not to bash your
Yeah.
Camry, right? But if all of a sudden you're in an Escalade or a Mercedes or a Maserati, like it's going to be a different
Mhm.
experience, and you're going to talk about that experience differently. Did they both get you from point A to point B? Yep. Is one going to be a little bit
Mhm.
more luxurious or a little faster? Yep. And
Yeah.
that is the reputation of the brand,
Yeah.
right? Camry is an
Yeah.
affordable, reliable, dependable brand for families, whatever. Maserati is, well, different.
Yeah. I agree. I think that there's absolutely the experience portion of it is the big maybe the biggest. Super close second though, or edging it out in my opinion is the character piece because I will say that even if I had a great result or I can't imagine how you could have a great experience and not have a great interaction character wise. However, believe it or not, it has happened with me, right? There are, a particular organization that I am a part of that I have had a great experience with the organization. I am not a particular fan of the character of some of the people in said organization. And so I don't share it as much as I might otherwise. You know what I mean? Because to me, I'm like, if I share this and then they interact with those people, even though my experience has been great, I can't promise that my experience is going to be their
That's right.
experience. I can promise that the character of the people they interact with is going to be the same, though,
Mhm.
because that's the character of the
Right.
person, right? And so to me, I think that character, at least in my opinion, weighs heavier for me in building or destroying the reputation of a person that I'm willing to introduce to others.
hmm I think character is also going to impact the how of the experience, right? How they do the
Mm.
thing, right? Because
Yeah.
I think that again, here's an example. If you are outsourcing to someone and you just throw the S over the fence and hope they do it right versus someone that you've vetted and have a relationship with or got referrals from other people that you trust, like those are
Yeah.
two, again, different experiences, but that speaks to your character and how you are operating your business, how you are doing those activities to get the result,
Yeah.
right? So,
I can see that. I guess, but here's what I find is interesting, and I'll say, you say all that to say this. Even in working with, like, I have a VA, right? I adore my VA. She's not my first VA. I've had a previous VA who I also got along with well, very well for 3 years. But if those two VAs were to be someone else's VA, someone else might have a completely different experience because of their character. You know what I mean? Like, so the experience can be affected not just by the person I'm referring, but by the person that they're being referred to. So I feel like the experience is very, I don't want to say volatile because that sounds bad, but it's very variable.
yes, I agree.
If I trust the character and integrity of both parties, at the very least, I know that,
Mhm.
right? I can't plan out the experience that they're going to have with one another, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's that, what do I want to say here? It's paradoxical, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think that was the word that you were looking for. It was spinning around in my
Yeah.
head, right?
Let's just talk about what are some of the small things that someone has done that have made their reputation stronger in your mind and made you want to introduce them to others, whether it's for business or simply because you're the coolest person I know and I want to introduce you to people. Like, what are some of those things that you can just think of? And they could be, actual things or just in general.
I think it is the personal touches that let their client know, or the person they're thinking about, that they're thinking about them, right?
Mhm.
I mentioned one of my coaches, Bob Russo, quite a few times, and like he will just randomly text me with like a TikTok video that he thought would be valuable for me from a conversation we had 6 weeks ago, like
Mhm.
because I know that he is that thoughtful person. If I know there's
Yeah.
someone else that is having the type of things that he can help with, I would not
Yeah.
think twice about making that introduction or referring. I think it is those personal little touches that add to your experience and perspective of the person that helps to grow that reputation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say similarly. I think for me, it's the way you make someone
Mhm.
feel when you're talking to them or someone else makes you feel. So for our GME group, I love inviting people to visit our group because the first thing I can say is like, friend, this is no networking experience like you've ever had. We are a family. Like you want to be in that room. And then people come and what are they always saying? Oh my gosh, you guys are hysterical. Your chat is, you're teasing each other, you're supporting each other, you're sharing wins. We have people will hot seat problems that they're having all the time. I've broken down in tears in that group, right? I've broken down in tears privately to our leadership team, and I've had some of you guys rally, like, show me where they're at, Allison. I'm coming, right? Like to me, it's that feel that when someone makes me feel like they similar to what you were saying, but it's like I feel like family to them and they want me to succeed so desperately. They want me to be taken care of. Man, that to me, like you just can't, that's a reputation you can't beat.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to make sure everybody meets them.
And I think if you have that reputation that you are the person who thinks of the details and does the small things, like you are the one who pays attention,
Yeah.
like yeah, that is kind of the reputation that you want. Like yeah, you want to be get shit done. Yeah, you want to be direct and clear and honest and like all
Yeah.
the things. But if when I die, somebody at my funeral says, "Man, Bernie was really freaking thoughtful," I would
Mhm.
feel great about that.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
that he did 10,000 events, not that, he trained 50,000, like he was really thoughtful. Like that would mean
Yeah.
everything.
Oh, I love that. I think at my funeral, people are going to be like, she drank a lot of coffee.
Right.
It's like, I think she had an addiction. I think that's what's coming up at mine. And she was very high energy and talked very fast. Take it for what it is. I think that's what's coming up. Oh my gosh. No, I think that's fantastic. All right. So flipping the coin, coming back to the tuna, right? And I'm going to take the lead on this one because I keep pushing questions on you. One of the behaviors that makes me just feel like someone has I don't even want to say they have a bad reputation. My perspective of their reputation is when they want to push what they're doing on me and like push me to refer them to other people rather than saying, here's what I do. How can we support one another? How can we build each other's businesses up? Instead, it's a one-way street. It's you work with my ideal client and here's what I do. And it's a perfect fit for your ideal client too. So you should tell them about me. And it's so very one way. And I just, it makes me, I can't even say it's their reputation is bad. It's my perception of them that makes me not care what their reputation is because I don't want to share.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in the question itself, you said the right word, and it is behavior, right? It is an individual.
Yeah.
In this case, we're talking about an individual's behavior in the conversation or situation. Um, I think again, going back to experience, things like missing deadlines, like that is going to be
Mhm.
a deal breaker in my world, right?
Yeah.
Miscommunication, and I unfortunately have done this as well. Again, got a lot of grace for it, but providing the wrong links for events, like if that becomes my reputation, is that people can't get into my events, that would
Yeah.
be bad, right? People
Mhm.
who are prone to explode when they're faced with a difficult
Mm.
situation, like that is someone I would never refer to my clients or the people that I care about and work with.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point. I think those are really good. Really good. So how do you think your reputation, let's get a little bit vulnerable. Now I'm going to go right back to asking you now. How do you think your reputation has changed in the last few years, particularly because you were once corporate and you've moved into being your own business owner? You've grown, you've pivoted, you've stepped into a CEO role when you took on the business that you purchased, right? How do you think your reputation has evolved or changed?
I mean, you'll probably agree with me to some extent. Like it evolved a lot over time because early it was unintentional. It was what it was. I did the
Mm.
things that I did, and I think that I got well known, at least in the circles that I was active in, for being trustworthy, for being somebody who shows up on time, for somebody who's going to get the job done, who's going to be diplomatic and work within a team well. So I think all of those
Mm.
things were based on, again, on the behaviors.
Yeah.
As the business kind of evolved and I stepped into a new role, we pivoted out from more corporate clients to working with more of the solopreneurs and the small business owners. I think the reputation, a lot of those things have stayed, but my approach was, I guess, I wanted to be known in the space, or I thought I wanted to be known in the space as the guy who handled all the technology, right? But it really, that wasn't the value that I was providing, and that's something that you helped me to see. Is it really
Mhm.
wasn't about pushing the buttons. Allison can push the buttons. It's about making sure that Allison is prepared, making sure that she's confident, that
Yeah.
she's ready, emotionally to deliver. That, yeah, sometimes it
Mhm.
is pushing the buttons and making sure that somebody does it, but that's not the big value. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that has been the biggest piece from how I talk about it and the reputation I would like to have. I mean,
Mhm.
yes, again, we push the buttons, but I want people to know that I'm the trusted co-pilot in the room with them. I'm helping them to strategize it, right? It's not just about the technology.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. So for me, and I don't know if this will be a surprise or not, but I've softened.
Mm.
Way back when I was a high school teacher, my students, it was like a love-hate relationship with me. I taught high school students, which I loved because you could banter and I could be sarcastic or whatever. But I mean, man, I was strict. And so it was black or white, right? I was a math teacher. We had a formula, friends. We got an answer. And so everything I did and it bled into my personal life, and it bled into raising kids, and everything was, this is the way that it is, and there is no deviation. And if there is a deviation, there is a problem. And I have over the years been like, okay, I need to let some of that go. Or you know what I mean? Like I can't be as tight as it has to be this particular. I distinctly remember getting angry with Joel because I wanted to put the kids to bed, and at 8 p.m. was their bedtime, and he's on the couch with one of the kids or whatever. And I was like, it's bedtime. He's like, all right, well, she's going. And I said, it is 8:01. She is late. And I was so mad, right? Because in my mind, we had school the next day,
Acceptable.
right? Like, right. And so as though I am very much still a systems person, and I like, everything has its place and everything in its place, or how's that go? Everything in its place and everything has a place. I don't even know this. You know what I'm saying? Okay? I can't even say it. But I've gotten more flexible in that. And I will say this. I distinctly remember a woman once outright calling me mean because I'm direct, right? I say it. I call it out. I didn't always call it out in a way that came across like I was being helpful. I would call it out to say, you suck and here's why, right? Not, hey, here's an area where you might want to improve. And I had to learn that. And now, even though, not bossy, just aggressively helpful is the joke, it is the reputation. It also comes with a great sense of humor. It comes with that helpful personality. People know that I am genuinely here to help them do better. And my aggressive helpfulness is because I want them to succeed. My reputation was not always that way. you know, we won't, years ago. But anyway, so that's just me being totally honest.
I feel like you would have been a tough teacher, Allison. I feel like you absolutely would have been very, this is what we are doing.
But let me tell you what, friend. I also got the scores that the school needed to get everybody a bonus. So I'm just saying it worked. Okay.
So the ends justified the means. I got you. I hear you.
At least they did in my mind. I maybe not everyone would agree, but I had kids who were graduating high school because I got them through math. I think that they would be like, I hated her at the time, but I'm
Absolutely.
pretty happy on graduation
For
day.
sure.
So,
For sure.
yeah. So the last kind of thing that I want to bring up here is that asking for feedback from clients or even people that decided not to work with us can be super scary. So what I put in the actual newsletter in the weekly challenge was go back to anybody. It could be a prospect, a lead, anybody who's your ideal client who has never worked with you, and say to them, would you refer me? If so, why? Or if you wouldn't, why not? And say it in a way that truly opens yourself up to conversation. And as much as we want everyone to be like, oh my gosh, you're amazing, I would refer you 10 times over, what we really want is the answers as to why they wouldn't refer us, so that we can plug those holes. We can fix those systems. We can iron out those kinks in our personality that offend people, right? Is there anything that you would say, you would add to that in terms of like, yeah, this would be important to know in order to do a better job with your reputation?
I think one, you hit it spot on. You have to ask not only the people who really have experienced you, but your ideal client that maybe hasn't experienced you, why they chose to go another way. That is super,
Mhm.
super helpful insight. I think a lot of us have pretty big egos, and we don't want to be told when our baby's ugly. I most certainly do not. But that is absolutely feedback that we need to hear so that we
Mhm.
can um fix our reputation if that is a problem, or the way that people perceive us, or how we're operating in those times of stress. um so I think it's time to land the plane here, Allison. What do people experience from us strongly enough that they would repeat it when you're not in the room, right? Reputation is not only built on the polished moments. Usually it's built on the honesty, the steadiness, the way that you handle mistakes, the way that
Mhm.
people feel when they trust you, right, with something important. So really, it is probably even a greater discussion around trust and not just reputation. But I would encourage our listeners to think about both sides of the conversation, right? The reputation that they have with others that they trust, and the other side of that, how people are looking at their reputation. And if there is a gap between what you want to be known for and maybe what people are actually saying, that's
Mm.
not necessarily a reason to spiral. It's just useful data.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great way to end it. So, guys, thanks for listening. Remember, keep showing up, keep taking the next step because the caffeine is strong.
So are you.